Dennis's notion was, he said that some form of superconductivity must be involved. Now, this was 1971. Superconductivity was not known to occur more than 0.3 of a degree above zero absolute. He said, no, there must be room temperature superconductivity going on in the DNA. This must be how the DNA preserves information. Now, if you know anything about superconductivity, it is the perfect physical phenomenon to use for preserving information, because no information degrades in a superconducting circuit. Say you have a ring of supercooled gold and you impart an electric current to this ring. That current, barring interruption of the superconducting state, will circle that gold ring with zero resistance for eternity. Now, the only thing which can cause the superconducting phenomenon to cease is if a high-energy source overwhelms the superconductivity, comes in from the outside and disrupts it. Now, think about the problem that nature faces with the genetic machinery. The key to life is error-free copying. Wherever there's error, then there becomes mutation or problem or incompatibility. So all of the strategies of genetic preservation of information seek to maximize the absence of error. So the perfect mechanism for doing this would be a superconducting mechanism. Now, you see, the major cause of mutation in the natural environment is cosmic radiation, ambient cosmic rays, high-energy particles that smash into the genome, physically collide with the DNA, and break the bonds and disrupt the message so that it can't be copied. Superconductivity would be the natural medium to retard this process. So Dennis's notion was that the DNA was a kind of superconducting storage device, and that in fact what we call the Jungian unconscious, or the racial memory, or the genetic memory, could be tapped into, and that what a drug trip is a neurotransmitter that competes with serotonin, that then broadcasts off this genetic memory bank a slightly different slice of the catalog. Serotonin broadcasts are the equivalent of traffic and weather reports, where it tells you how to get around in the world and where not to go and how to avoid problems. If you swap out the serotonin channel for the psilocybin channel, suddenly it's the equivalent of Pacifica Radio. It's running philosophy discussions and classical music from another planet, you see, because the efficiency and the emphasis of these neurotransmitters is different. Well, so we went through a series of startling revelations and experiences using this idea, because he was dead serious about doing this and decided that I would be the likely candidate for what he called hypercarbylation, and that, we would saturate me with drug molecules, and then he knew how to do the thing to make an ordinary trip turn into the forever trip, by locking these molecules into their bond sites. Oh, and that's the piece of the puzzle that I didn't explain that you might not realize. When a molecule is superconducting, when a molecule is at 0 degrees absolute, it becomes superconducting. So if you can cool a molecule to that level, it will immediately bond permanently to whatever is physically nearby. So Dennis said, what you do is you take all these, you saturate your body with these drug molecules, And then, using a complex theory of harmonic canceling, which I won't regale you with this evening, he thought there was a way to generate sound that would affect a very small number of these drug molecules and cause them actually to superconductively bond into the DNA. And then the trip would be permanent. The trip would be scripted into the genome, or at least for the life of the organism. And he suggested that if you make the DNA superconducting in this way, that eventually death is no problem. It's just sort of like a shedding. And you go into the rivers and the water and the air, and you become very tiny. You become the size of your DNA nucleus. Well, I thought that this was a very highly unlikely notion. So unlikely that since he was so gung-ho to try it, the best thing to do would be to just let it rip. And if there was something there, that would be interesting, but that I was willing to bet dollars to donuts against it. Well, he set up the experiment. He did the experiment, and he had made very extravagant and inflated predictions about what would happen. He thought that you would literally give birth to your mind as a physical substance. I don't know whether it would flow out of your nose or where it would come from, but he thought that there was a kind of superconducting translinguistic matter, he called it. He thought there was a way to dissolve the boundaries between matter and spirit and create an obsidian fluid that would be obedient to your own imagination, that would in fact be you. You would just preserve your body as a convenient reference point, but you would actually become this stuff. I'm telling you. So I thought, sure, so try it. So, yeah, what's to lose? We didn't come all this way for nothing. You say you know what you're doing. Nobody else has a clue, so go for it. Well, what happened was not what he predicted, but not nothing.